Hello and welcome to another episode of Comic Book Reviews. If you love comics as much as I do, you're going to subscribe to my channel. I review comics for Comic Crusaders. I also have my own franchises, Adolescent Radioactive Samurai Platypi and Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter. They're available on Comics Central, Indie Planet, and Comixology. Check them out. Stay tuned to this broadcast for more information. Also, like the Facebook pages for each franchise. Check out my Patreon site for some neat original artwork and shows that you won't find on YouTube. Hello comic book fans, Kevin Gibbon with you once again, and this week we're going to review Star Trek Year 5, Number 1, also Kiss the End, Number 1. Two franchises coming to a conclusion. I want to mention before I do those reviews, I do comic book reviews not just for Comic Crusaders, but also the Comics for Sinners website. Another great website. Check them both out, check my reviews out on both sites. First, let's start with Star Trek Year 5, Issue 1. Finally, IDW has brought us back to the original 5-year mission. I enjoy most Star Trek comics, but my fondness is for the one that started it all, the one I grew up with. And this issue opens with a dramatic scene. Kirk is recording what appears to be a final entry in his captain's log. His tone is desperate, his situation dire. His entry states that there's a 700 million to 1 chance that this entry will be dust along with him, which means that no one will ever hear it. Then a mysterious hand points a phaser to the back of his head. Cut to flashback. Looking at the creative team, Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly bring us into a mission the Enterprise is about to embark on called Operation Ouroboros. The conversation among the bridge crew is that this one is going to be dangerous, but the consensus is that they should go because risk is part of the job. Then we cut to McCoy entering Kirk's quarters with a fifth of brandy. Now, when that happens, there's going to be some, contemplation. McCoy's words of wisdom to Kirk, yada yada, some $5 psychology. The doctor is in, Lucy Vanderpelt, and Charlie Brown. However that goes. But anyway, the good captain reveals that he's going to be promoted to admiral. What keeps us reading is the attention to detail over these characters' motivations. This team proves that they know their Star Trek as the characters behave exactly as we would expect them to. Yet there's still a lot of originality in this tale. The apparent antagonist is one we recognize from the original series. One gripe I usually have with Star Trek comics is that they keep revisiting characters and situations we've already been exposed to, instead of giving us a new alien or characters for our heroes to encounter. Having said that, however, this antagonist is extremely well done and piques our curiosity, and we learn something new about these aliens and their motivation. Looks like we've got another TOS classic on our hands. Great stuff includes how Kirk takes down an enemy who's immune to phaser blasts, and Spock's telling Mr. Scott how much weight he's gained since the first year of the mission, and that he'll have to struggle with obesity. Little touches like this kind of give me a chuckle when you consider how James Doohan, that's Scotty for those not familiar with Star Trek, encountered his Battle of the Bulge. Little attention to details like that let me know that the writers are familiar with the characters that they are writing. Stephen Thompson gets everything down pat. You can tell he's a huge fan of the series by his attention to detail, both in the cast and technical aspects of the show. There have been a lot of Star Trek artists through the years that might get the characters to look like the actors that portrayed them, but the renderings would be kind of stiff. They not show the range in their facial expressions. They were obviously just copying pictures from publicity stills. But Thompson brings these characters to life. When Kirk is feeling helpless, not just because the panel or dialogue tells us, but because you can see it in his face. One of the best art jobs for original series characters, if not the best that I've seen from any comic book company. A great way to send our heroes off on one of their final adventures in the original 5-year mission. Highlights include the battle with the alien and the renditions of the homeworld of said alien. In conclusion, with all the attention to current Trek, such as Discovery and the Kelvin timeline, and the multitudes of Trek series that IDW has to choose from, I was beginning to wonder if they would ever revisit the original series with the iconic cast and characters ever again. I'm so glad that they're giving us the series, and it's a great intro to what could be one of the best Trek stories ever told in comics. The ending has a great cliffhanger, and I can't wait for the next issue. I grew up with this series, and now the original cast is aging and, regrettably, starting to die off. First DeForest Kelley, then James Doohan, also Leonard Nimoy. They will never play these iconic characters anymore. William Shatner is almost 90 years old. The original cast will never put together any shows or movies ever again. The only way us fans can get original stories now is through novels and comics. God bless IDW and Titan Books, also Pocket Books, for continuing the legacy and giving us original stories. 4.5 stars, 9.4 rating from this comic book reviewer. And now let's look at Kiss, the End. Is this really the end of the road for Kiss tours and comics? At least Amy Chu is back. I didn't dislike Blood and Stardust, but if you look at my review, it really wasn't much of a Kiss comic. Can Amy Chu send our makeup-clad rockers out with a bang? She's sure gonna try. Looking at the creative team, Amy Chu is a reliable force in the world of comics, and this one opens with a lot of promise. Our anti-hero, Jay, is awakened by his girlfriend, Kimiko. She's given him holy hell because he slept all day and forgot to pick her up from band practice. Apparently, this was the last straw, and she's breaking up with him. As the day progresses, he loses his job for constant tardiness, and it only gets worse from there. Jay is a slacker who is in desperate need of growing up. Kind of reminds me of Bill Murray's character in the movie Stripes. It's kind of hard for us to invest in Jay because of his attitude, but Chu brings the delinquent a kind of charm nonetheless, and we wind up rooting for him. Where he ends up is a vast wasteland, and I'm not talking about television. I won't give it away here, but let's just say it's seemingly a land of no return. His path crosses with a girl named Mania, who is his guide throughout the wasteland. What will keep you wanting more is the idea that Jay has nowhere to go but up. He must accept his destiny and accomplish the mission set before him. We want to see him redeem his soul and take responsibility for his actions. The scene where he meets Mania's dad is horrific and humorous at the same time. The chemistry between Mania and Jay works. We root for these characters to get together by the end of the issue. Great stuff includes Jay's slow realization of where he winds up and the meeting between Jay and Mania's father. I hope I'm pronouncing this name right. Idu Mena brings a certain panache to the renderings of the kings of the nighttime world, and he draws them in a more realistic light than most of the recent issues that feature Kiss. It's kind of refreshing to see them look like they're, actual selves than the four Incredible Hulks. Mena's style is laid back but down to earth, yet he gets the job done with aplomb. Highlights include the splash page of the Wasteland and Gene Simmons' attack on Mania's father. In conclusion, after Blood and Stardust and the End of the Road tour, I was afraid that Kiss comics would not go out with the same bang as Kiss concerts. But Dynamite brought back a reliable writer of the series, and the art is realistic and sensible. Again, my chief gripe is that Kiss is barely in this issue, but the setup has a lot of promise. And I believe this team can deliver a solid knockout with the next issue. 3.5 stars at 8.7 rating from this comic book reviewer. That was our look at comic book reviews for today. Tune in next time when we review 2 more comic books on the Comic Book Review Show. If you love comics as much as I do, you're going to subscribe to my channel. I review comics for Comic Crusaders. I also have my own franchises, Adolescent Radioactive Samurai Platypi and Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter. They're available on Comics Central, Indie Planet, and Comixology. Check them out. Stay tuned to this broadcast for more information. Also, like the Facebook pages for each franchise for more information. Check out my Patreon site for some neat original artwork and shows that you won't find on YouTube. And that was our look at comic book reviews for this week. Until next time, this is Kevin Givens saying so long and keep reading those comics.